Hey guys, we're going to get started here in just a minute.
And he tells about the river of life that flows beneath the throne, where we'll drink and live eternally in a mansion all our own. If that don't make you wanna go, brother, if that don't make you wanna go, sister, if that don't make you wanna go to heaven, I don't know what does. They say there is no heartache there and no more curse of sin, no sickness and no cross to bear, and death can't enter in. No fighting and no battlefield, no war, no enemy. Where the lamb and I lay side by side in that land of perfect peace. If that don't make you wanna go, brother, if that don't make you wanna go, sister, if that don't make you wanna go to heaven, I don't know what does. No. Is there no more than this day where Jesus is alive? Got a lot of friends and loved ones there, and the Savior out of me. And I lay my crown of jewels down and I bow at Jesus' feet. If that don't make you wanna go, brother, if that don't make you wanna go, sister, if that don't make you wanna go to heaven, I don't know what does.
Hello there.
Worthy is the Lamb who was slain. Holy, holy is He. Sing a new song to Him who sits on heaven's mercy seat. Worthy is the Lamb who was slain. We sing and Him who sits on heaven's mercy seat.
Hey, Kiernan.
Is it?
I wonder if Rebecca knows we lost her.
What?
I wonder if Rebecca knows that she's not here. She's not broadcasting. Oh. So how are you feeling, George?
I guess. Near the delay.
Okay. Yeah, there's a little bit of a delay. My computer's being weird tonight, too. So, oh man. It's been a long day.
Yeah.
And, what we talked about earlier, George, it's still between you and I, okay?
Okay.
So I haven't. So yeah, we'll leave it at that.
I was looking. That delay drives me nuts.
Oh. And what happened now?
Karen, where'd you go?
You're not broadcasting.
I'm not.
No. That's why I was asking if you were inside or out. There's a big delay.
Karen left.
Thank you. And we lost Kiernan.
Wow. So, don't know what happened there. Tim.
What?
Echo?
Hold on. Ugh.
How are you doing, George?
I'm all right.
Hold on.
Okay. No more echo.
2, 3. All right.
Say what?
I said testing 1, 2, 3. Hold on.
Hear you loud and clear.
I was making sure there really wasn't an echo.
Oh, there shouldn't be any more. And I do apologize because my computer, if I cut in and out, my computer is acting funny again tonight.
Oh, there went all the books. Oh, thank you, sweetie. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
So how was everyone's week?
I've definitely had better. I found a company that they're not in my area yet, but I'm hoping, because
also can hear you eating. So can you mute your mic? Okay, he froze. Go ahead, George. Sorry.
So, I'm hoping that I'm thinking that they should be opening an office in this area. I mean, it's not the biggest place in the world, but Raleigh is, it's one of the top 10 places still in the country, if not the top 5, that people want to move to. But it's called what's Rabbit Taskers, and it's kind of like James. What's that service that you get?
OnStar.
No, what's the service that you get recommendations, independent reviews and recommendations for home services and oh, daggone it. I want to say James, but it may not. Anyway, so you have agents, you have people that sign up, and this is what I would do, that sign up to go do cleaning for people, go do shopping for people, go do, odds and ends, and they get paid through PayPal, and so you can make some pretty decent money. And so, like I say, I'm hoping that they're going to open an office in this area soon, because that would be awesome for me.
Yeah.
And there's another thing like that called field agent, where you go with either your iPhone or your Android, and you take pictures of retail products just to kind of verify that the store, blah, 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 that doesn't pay that well, and I had an idea this afternoon. I might try doing, because you can see my studio behind me. I might try doing producing video resumes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Those are just some of the ideas. There's nothing else on Craigslist. Anyway, those are about the only encouraging things that I can think of. So, you've been doing some serious digging.
Yes, I have. I'm gonna wait till Tim gets back on with us.
Okay.
How have you been, Miss K?
Hugging on, holding on. I had a bad day today, so all I can do is lean on the Lord to get me through. That's why I almost didn't get on, but I'm glad I'm here.
We're glad you're here too.
Thanks.
Tim, I don't know what's going on, but it's showing you're in here twice. Oh, now you're in here once. So.
Okay.
I was going to do a double angled shot, you know, one from my cell phone, one from the camera, so get both angles going.
I'm getting a Hollywood. Yeah, I've been doing a lot of studying. George, I don't know if you went back and watched our study from last week where you missed, but we covered quite a bit in Genesis from the post that I posted in the group with a bunch of that, the maps and stuff like that. And I just have been doing a continuation and looking into that. And I ran across Wally Chobot, or however you say it. And I think he's one of my new favorite Bible teachers.
He's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
He's real good.
Although I think if you watched him, a whole bunch you might not like him so much because he pokes fun at Chuck Missler. But, you know, they're colleagues and they don't always agree.
Well,
with,
you know, I think we're all beginning to learn the body does have, even we, you know, a bunch of us have varied beliefs.
Right.
Right. But, so it was just really kind of weird for me because finding his video was like a confirmation of everything I looked at that day because I remember, George, you remember me posting about the vision I had of the bomb that was dropped between Egypt and Israel, and like the Blue Dome Mosque, that I wasn't sure where it was, but I was humming Istanbul or Constantinople, and I just happened to ask, does anybody know where there's like a famous Blue Dome Mosque? And someone's like, well, in Istanbul, Turkey. And I was like, oh, I was humming that song at the same time. And, you know, I don't really know that song. I mean, I've heard it, of course, like, you know, like in movies or whatever. But, you know, then he brought up Turkey a lot. You know, and Jesus said Turkey was the seat of Satan.
Pergamos.
No.
Pergamos is seat.
Oh, well, yeah. Yeah, okay. Which is in Turkey.
Oh, okay.
And so, anyway, because I've seen posted about, you know, Turkey reviving something that people are calling the Mark, but I'm getting off track. So in my searches with the maps and the territories that Nimrod established for the kingdom of Babylon, which is not just the city of Babylon. If you look at the old maps, it was like an empire.
Right.
Right.
So,
right.
And George had asked, well, I had, you know, found this article where, well, I thought they were raising the temple of Nimrod, but it was spelled R-A-Z-E, which means they were destroying it.
Right.
And George was like, well, why would they do that? So I started, you know, I said, I don't know, maybe it's an argument of the true seed, or, you know, so I started researching Ishmael and Esau, and that eventually, in a roundabout way, led me to the Suez Canal. And I thought, well, let me just see if this is in the news. And literally, it's been in the news every day for the past year. And there was an article posted like 56 minutes prior to my search. And so I get to looking on Google Earth, and I'm like, there has to be a way that this area can be flooded. So I do a search, and I find the Aswan Dam. So then Wally Chobat brings up the black stone in Mecca, and the Bible verse that relates to that in his theory. I posted about that on the group as well. I won't go too much into that because it's in what we're going to talk about today. But in Arabic, it's called Aswad, Aswan, Aswad, and as someone who really looks at words and powers words, in the beginning was the word, and that's from the same area. The fact that there's one letter difference at the end tells me there's something in the relativity of those two words. So I'm going to look into that a little more. And this man straight up says that there are plans to nuke that dam. And if you don't know, Wally Shobat used to be a Muslim terrorist before his Catholic wife was like, so tell me what's wrong with the Bible. And he had never read the Bible, so he went out and bought one and started reading it so he could tell her what was wrong with it. And by the time he got through it, he converted. So,
Wow.
And he started reading. And he said the same thing that the Holy Spirit had led me to, which was the subject of last week's, was that if you want to understand the prophecy in Revelation and the end-time prophecies that Jesus spoke of, you have to go to Genesis.
Yeah.
Read Genesis. So when he said that, they're going to destroy that dam, I went, wow.
Who's going to destroy it?
The Muslim people.
Okay.
So I got to I was looking at that, and then he brought up the Bible verse. I think he's the one that mentioned it, where it said that they will lay waste to Nimrod's kingdoms, destroy them. So that answered George's question. Well, why would they do that? Well, because they have to fulfill biblical prophecy. That's right. I don't know. Like, he brings up some very interesting things. Like, we have the whole, the Khazar thing, the Russian, the question of where everything is and if it's in the right place and who's really a Jew and who isn't and all of that. And I think it really ties in. He brings up. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I was saying you were talking about the Khazars, that that's who the Jews really are, the ones who aren't Jews.
Oh, I didn't.
Is it Khazar? K-H-A.
Jews really are, but there's an argument that the people that claim to be Jews are really Khazars.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Right.
And the Bible says that.
I'll let you finish. I wanted to ask you a question, but
that was just where my studies led, and pretty much a lot of things that he said were a confirmation of where the studies were leading me. I wasn't sure why my studies were headed the direction they were. I tell you what, I always thought Chronicles and the books of Kings were not very interesting books of the Bible, and boy was I wrong.
It's hard to get them all covered, though. I mean, like in Kings, man, that's where Elijah took on Queen Jezebel, and what was the name of that? The mountain where he challenged all of the false prophets and told them, hey, you
Mount Carmel.
Carmel, yeah. You see if you can make your God come down and burn up all this wood. And man, for like, I don't know how long, but it seemed like days. And Elijah's just talking trash to him. And then finally, he gets up there and he pours water on all of his wood and is just taunting these guys. And and God comes down and just obliterates. But yeah, that whole all of that, it's a lot to cover. But yeah.
That's funny you say that. I didn't know that story about pouring the water on the wood.
Yeah.
Because that's something similar to this army. I can't let you win with an army this big. So basically tell everybody that wants to go home that they can go home. That cuts the army down. And then he's like, tell everybody to go down to the river and take a drink. And everyone that, puts the water to their mouth with their hand,
right,
send them home. All that drink, drink like a dog. So take the stupid people, basically. So he took the 300 dumbest people or 150 maybe, I'm not even sure really, but divide them into two groups, those who lap water like a dog and those who kneel down to drink. And then you 300 stay, the rest go home. And so basically he just kept cutting the army down because he wanted to be sure that everybody knew that Gideon's army won because of God.
So that's like the complete opposite of the movie 300, where it was like what Greece's version of the 300 Delta Force guys. You remember the movie that came out about 10 years ago, 300?
Xerxes' army. Yeah, Xerxes' army.
Yeah. So this was like, you're talking about Gideon, right? Yeah. So that was like the complete opposite story. And that happened before the 300 that was in the movie. But and if you want to, I'm just shooting the breeze right now, but Sunday I went to a Hebraic roots. It wasn't a service, it was a Bible study like this. And
Karen didn't leave. She was going to ask a question. I hope she's just having computer issues and comes back.
It says she left the group chat, but that might be temporary.
Okay, I wasn't ignoring you. I promise.
Um,
So you went to a Hebrew roots movement?
yeah, and I tell you, I'm eager. Studying that is. Have you ever studied much of the Feast of the Lord and the
Yeah, you checked out early, and I posted the notes for it when
oh
we said that is not necessary because Jesus Christ fulfilled them all.
I remember that.
no the first time he came
He fulfilled the spring feasts.
right.
Heaven
But
will
now
fulfill the fall feasts.
the second time is going to be the fall. But just it. I don't know how to explain it, but you will get so much more out of God's word. And I listened to I've been listening to Michael Rood, ROOD, and I don't agree with everything. Just like I was saying a minute ago, I'm just picking up from a whole lot of them, but they don't. He doesn't talk. How do I say it? They don't talk about prophecy specifically like we do, but it's all encompassed in. I mean, the prophecy is encompassed in the discussion itself, or the feast themselves. But if I don't know, I can send you the links. The three guys that I've listened to regarding Hebraic roots. There's one guy, Jonathan Cahn, Cahn, that he wrote this book called The Harbinger, and I think he was also the first one that started finding out about these 4 blood red moons, and putting a lot of that puzzle together. But the Harbinger is about all of these Shemitah years, the years of the Shemitah. Have you heard about any of that?
The Shemitah, yeah.
Yeah.
We talked about that last week too.
Okay. You're rubbing it in, but that's cool. That's cool. I deserve that. And then the other guy is Mark Biltz, and I've got some of his DVDs, and of course Michael Rood, and I'll show you. You see that?
Hold on, you talk or something so your camera pops up.
Hello? Hello?
Yes.
The Great Secret of Solomon's Temple.
Yeah.
Talks, you go away, and he pops up. He doesn't know that because he likes to click on my picture and make me big, but.
Well, I was watching what is Michael Rood's The Jonah Code. It's just, I'm trying to keep up with everything that everybody wants me to watch, and then everything else. So, who else is on here? Are you ready to start tonight's lesson?
Well, I'm trying to get a link sent to Michelle. She wants me to message it to her personally.
Did you send Jose an invite?
He responded no. So, yes, I did.
Okay.
Let's see. I'm trying to get to the events so I can send one to Michelle. Hi, Michelle. I know you can't.
Michelle.
Send a message to Karen and see what happened, see if she was having computer issues. Michelle's so funny. She watches almost every week, and she said, "Is it over already?" No.
I haven't even started yet, Michelle.
Okay. Hopefully that worked. I'm going to tag her in it just to make sure. Here, I can go ahead and get this video going. It's very, very short. Entire screen. Share. So go ahead and y'all mute your mics. Y'all don't mind. Now I'll pull this up. Oh, wrong thing. Oh, look, the NRA's got an ad on here. We can skip them.
Never fun.
Now.
The Bible talks about Babylon, the future Babylon. The destruction of Babylon, Mystery Babylon. Do you know Mystery Babylon is interpreted for you? It's mystery to the world. There's no mysteries. God says, I have not spoken in mystery. I have not spoken in secret. It's the mother of harlots, the greatest of all cults. The mother of all cults. Not all the cults, by the way. The mother of all cults. Mystery Babylon. It tells you where the location is exactly. The shipmasters of the sea and the Red Sea crying, Alas, alas, the great city. In Jeremiah chapter 49, verse 21, the earth shakes at the noise of their fall. At the cry, its noise is heard at the Red Sea. Red Sea. And she gives the cup to the kings of the earth, and the drink of this cup, the Bible calls the wine of her fornication. She has this wine in abundance that's coming out of the desert.
Saudi Arabia is a historic enemy of Iran and a strategic counterbalance in the Middle East. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton met with the Saudi Arabia defense minister in Washington this week. She highlighted the importance of a strong relationship between the U.S. and Saudi Arabia. Saudi officials said he looks forward to continuing the excellent relationship between the two countries.
And I know when you read the scripture, Revelation 17 speaks about a city in the wilderness, but wilderness there, I believe in the Greek New Testament, is Aramon, and it is nowhere.
It's exactly what Mecca is. It's the middle of nowhere. And then he took me to the desert. There he showed me a woman riding on a scarlet beast. It's in a desert. It cannot be Rome. It has to be Arabia because Isaiah 21 says it is. It talks about the burden against the what? Desert of the sea. If it says in the text, and I saw the martyrs that were beheaded in the name of Jesus. Who do you think is beheading who these days? If you think these very elements in the Bible do not speak today, think again.
Saudi Arabia is one of the worst persecutors of Christians in the Middle East. It's a problem that's getting worse throughout the region.
Before Islam's prophet Muhammad died in the 7th century, he declared that no two religions could coexist on the Arabian Peninsula, meaning Islam must reign supreme in the region. Muslim leaders there today take Muhammad's words seriously. Saudi Arabia's Grand Mufti recently issued a fatwa for a religious ruling that all churches on the Arabian Peninsula must be destroyed. It was a stunning statement by Saudi Arabia's top religious authority.
The head wound is regarding an empire. A head is an empire. We go back to Daniel chapter 2. The stone became a great mountain. 7 mountains they are. Those are not the hills of Vatican. If they are, when did 5 hills fell? 5 have fallen, the kings with their kingdoms. It's number 7. Egypt, Syria, Babylonia, Persia, Greece, Rome, number 6, number 7. Who took the mantle from the Roman Empire? Turkey, Muhammad II. And let's think about what Jesus said. He says, Pergamus, thou art the seat of Satan. The seat of the Antichrist is in Pergamus. Who said that? Jesus. Do we ignore Jesus? Caliph is the representation of Muhammad on earth. So Turkey recovers. Recovers from the head wound. Absolutely. And by peace, he will be seen.
Let's not forget all the references in the Bible regarding Babylon included Arabia in ancient times, and all the references in the Bible about the future Babylon. It mentions the names of the cities, the regions. Babylon in the Bible includes Duma. Duma is in Arabia, not in Iraq. Isaiah 21 talks about Babylon being destroyed. It's very clear in Isaiah 21, it says the burden against Arabia, yet it gives the same reference in Revelation. Babylon is fallen, is fallen. And that's in Revelation 18 and Revelation 14. Well, both references in Revelation, if you look at Babylon is fallen, is regarding a region in Arabia.
Remember, the harlot is destroyed by 2 entities. The hand of my people Israel. And then you have in Isaiah 21, arise, O Elam, to destroy what? Arabia. Elam is Iran. Persia will destroy Arabia.
What does the Bible tell us about this harlot? It says the beast that she rides will burn the harlot and ravish her. For the biblical concept to fit, then the Muslim world must destroy Arabia as well. No. Is that unfathomable to you? They hate Saudi Arabia. They hate the harlot. Why? Because she lives in luxury. See what's going on in Turkey. See how by peace they're deceiving you. See how Erdogan is changing the laws. See how women are complaining in Turkey. See how they're putting badges in their foreheads and their right arms. And guess what? If you want to understand Revelation, when it says that then the beast and the false prophet, these two are cast into the lake of fire. Do you know that's interpreted for you? Beast, the kingdom of the Antichrist. All the nations that composes the beast. And the false prophet, the one who leads them, is also the Antichrist. Muhammad, the Prophet of Islam, says, Al-Mahdi ta'us al-malaika alayhi jalabib al-nur. The Mahdi is the peacock of all angels. Upon him is the cloaks of light. He comes to bring 7 years of peace upon the earth. And he will lead the war with Iran and Turkey combined. And every Muslim, when they see that battle, must join it if they have to crawl on snow.
When the army is swallowed, then the Mahdi is going to be attacked by another army. And this is now an army of the Quraysh, an army of the Kalb. And remember that armies are armies. The Mahdi will defeat this army. And when an army is defeated, that is the end of Saudi Arabia. Goodbye to bad rubbish. Goodbye to bad rubbish. Let it be recorded in my book tonight. Let it be recorded in your book tonight. Goodbye to bad rubbish. the most monstrous betrayal of Islam ever committed in history, committed by those who control that state.
And then the destruction of this Babylon, the woman, the harlot. Even the oil will burn in it. Arabia will burn, including the oil. Do you forget First Gulf War? What did God tell us about the end times? Why did Daniel says, this book is sealed for the time of the end? Could it be possible that this is the time when God is unsealing things for us so we can do something?
And this is why we have to focus on the Bible. We can't go beyond what is written in this book. Usually prophecy is mystery to us in the beginning, but as it gets fulfilled, it becomes more clearer. And this is why Daniel the prophet says the book is sealed for the end time. The closer we get to the end, that kind of knowledge will increase, because God will begin to unveil for us what has been veiled in the past.
Be on. Okay. Dope. Thoughts?
George is still muted. I don't think he realizes it.
I also got the echo.
Where's your headphones, Tim?
Well, Scotland wanted to listen in. That's why I them out.
You need to put them back in.
Why don't you go to the door so you can listen in? But then put the headphones in. Okay.
We've got 4 viewers. So.
She's coming up there with you so she can listen in.
Okay.
So I don't what I hadn't seen that one. There was a video that you had on there this morning. I tried to look at. I don't know if it was that one. I tried to look at it. It was the one where I said, "Is the martial law coming in?" Because YouTube was. I mean, have you ever seen YouTube completely go down?
It was that video, and no, I haven't, but I've seen Facebook and Google and other sites go completely down. That's been going on a lot this year.
Anywho, so I hadn't seen that particular video. So I don't really have any definite thoughts. Quite honestly, that at this point, I've been watching so much, I'm confused now. What was your take when you watched it?
I thought it was very powerful, which is why I posted it and said, take 8 minutes out of your time to watch this.
And I tried, honest, to make up for last week.
Let's see. I'm going to pull up.
I think it would.
Go ahead, Tim. I'm pulling something up.
I think it's more interesting the fact that, like you said, we were watching those videos last night, and everything you have mentioned and the vision that you had and that we've been talking about, he said and he brought up in the videos that we watched last night. And I think it's full confirmation on everything that you've been talking about and that you've been studying.
I'm going to post, I went ahead and did something unusual, which was I did the notes before the study, published them. I just posted them in the chat. I'm going to display them because the chat's not available to everyone watching on YouTube. So I'm going to go ahead and still display them. But go ahead and do that. Sent to everyone. So how does that look?
It's great.
Okay.
It's good.
Did it just get bigger?
It's got smaller.
Smaller? Now it disappeared. So let me ask which looks better. Does it look better like this? Or if I do it as a entire screen like this? Which way is better?
Fine.
This is fine? Okay.
Yeah, looks good.
So we had brought up the 7 shepherds, and nobody had really heard of that. One thing that Wally Shobod brings up is that a lot of people are not only ready for America to be destroyed, they're ready for the Antichrist to either come out of America or Europe. And he points out that all of the cities that God mentions being destroyed in the Bible are cities or countries God mentions being destroyed in the Bible are Muslim countries. So let's see. I didn't mean to do that. And he also says that Rome, which is mentioned 16 times in the Bible, not the ancient Greco-Roman Empire, but Rome, as we know it, is not ever mentioned as being destroyed. So America, in the Bible, he believes, is one of these 7 shepherds mentioned in the prophecy. And I have my own theory on who the 7 shepherds are. But let's take a look at what it says here. It says, now gather thyself in troops, O daughter of troops. He hath laid siege against us. Tim, if you're typing, can you mute your mic, please?
I'm not typing.
Oh, I'm hearing like typing coming through the speakers. It says, now gather thyself in troops, O daughter of troops. He hath laid siege against us. They shall smite the judge of Israel with a rod upon the cheek. But thou, Bethlehem, Ephratah, though thou be little among the thousands of Judah, yet out of thee shall he come forth unto me, that is the ruler in Israel, whose going forth have been from old, from everlasting. Therefore will he give them up until the time that she which travaileth hath brought forth. Then the remnant of his brethren shall return unto the children of Israel. And then he shall stand and feed in the strength of the Lord, in the majesty of the name of the Lord his God, and they shall abide. For now shall he be great unto the ends of the earth. And this man shall be the peace. Then the Assyrian shall come into our land, and when he shall tread in our palaces, then shall we raise against him 7 shepherds and 8 principal men. And they shall waste our land of Assyria. And I don't know if you noticed, when you go into the notes, this has the Strongs attached to it. So you just have to hover.
Oh.
And it'll give you the definition, or you can click it and it'll take you to the full definition, but it has a short definition if you hover. 8 principal men, and they shall waste the land of Assyria with the sword, and the land of Nimrod and the entrances thereof. Thus shall he deliver us from the Assyrian, when he cometh into our land, and when he treadeth within our borders. Micah 5:1-6. Okay, now I broke this down a little bit by verse. It's okay at 5:2. It says, "But thou Bethlehem Ephratah, though be little among the thousands of Judah." Now, little. The original word is ser or sawir, means younger. The least one, little ones, servants, small, those who are younger, youngest son. And the remnant, a lot of people think that means just a little bit or not very many, but right here the short definition, as we can see, means abundant. The original word is yethier. I probably said that wrong. It's an abundant, accord, exceeding, excellent, plentiful, remnant, residue. From yather, which means, oh, it's not going to show me. That's a link that takes us to it. Properly an overhanging, an excess, a superiority, a remainder. Also a small rope, as in hanging free, an abundant cord exceeding excellency. What they leave that hath left plentiful, remnant, residue, rest string. Okay, it says when they come into their palaces, and I'm sorry, I just got to add on Google Plus, make sure it's not someone trying to join us here. Palace means citadel. Armon, citadels. This one is interesting. It means fortified or palatial dwellings. Unusually more general of castle, palaces, or prominent buildings. Especially used in speaking of conquest, because the fine buildings would be especially object of attack and plunder. Now, I posted an article not too long ago that ISIS was using, was selling artifacts to make money, like by the millions. These priceless artifacts they were selling in order to fund their cause.
Yeah, saw that.
And it also means of Babylon. So we can link that to Nimrod as well. Assyrian. We know the Antichrist is linked to the king of Assyria. Of Edom, which Edom would be anybody that is a son of Ishmael, which would be the Muslim. Of Gaza, of Rabbah, of Bozrah, of Kirioth, of Ashdod, of Egypt, a castle or palace. From unused root meaning elevated, a citadel, castle, palace. Compare Harmount. So this is where it gets interesting. Harmount. You know what that means? It means Harmon.
What does Harmon, what significance does that have?
Harmon is a place name. Mount Harmon.
Now,
so
I've heard of Mount Hermon, the H-E-R.
Well, maybe it's not Mount Harmon, but Harmon is a proper name location, and here is the map. This whole area is Harmon.
Okay.
So I'm going to click this link. I'm going to open it in a new tab. It's Samaria.
Okay. Never heard Samaria never heard it referred to like that.
This is the BibleAtlas.org. So Shechem was the first capital of the northern kingdom. Jeroboam seems later to have removed the royal residence to Tirzah. This is a lot of reading here, but basically, Amos 4:3, you will go out at the breaks in the wall, everyone straight before her, and you will cast yourselves into Harmon, says Yahweh. So the city wall can be traced in almost its entire length. Recent excavations conducted by American archaeologists have uncovered the foundation of Omri's palace with remains of the work of Ahab and of Herod. Probably here was Ahab's ivory palace on the western end of the hill, while on the western slope, the gigantic gateway flanked by massive towers has been exposed to view. Samaria naturally became the center of idolatrous worship. So there's a link in the notes. Feel free to check that out. But Harmon is Samaria. It says there is a good road connecting Nablus and Jaffa. By the road not quite so good, it's now possible to drive a carriage from Jerusalem to Nazareth, passing through Samaria.
Okay, so can you reconnect all of that?
This is just a breakdown of the words in the verses I read of this prophecy. These are places of interest that we should keep an eye on.
Okay.
You'll see when we get to the second part of the prophecy why it connects.
Okay.
Okay. So now we get to the 7 shepherds. The word shepherd means break. Or the word that we transliterated as shepherd was ra. Short definition is break. While each shobah says that means rulers or nations. To keep company with, devour, eat up, evil entreat. To tend a flock, to pasture it. Generally to rule. So that might be why he's getting rulers or nations. And since he's from that area, I tend to believe him when it comes to what the original words mean. As a friend, make friendship with, herdman, keep, pastor, shearing house, shepherd, wander to waste. And this, I included the link for this definition because it was very inclusive, had a lot of stuff with it. And it says 7 shepherds and 8 principal men. It mentions that 8 is a cardinal number. There's my typo. And the word principal means offering.
Now that's not the same spelling for
Excuse me?
If
I spelled it wrong, it's just because I typed it wrong.
Okay, yeah.
On the link. I just typed it wrong.
Okay.
But the definition came directly from clicking on the verse.
Okay.
So, from Nekak, properly something poured out, a libation. I thought this was interesting. Also a molten image. By implication, a prince as anointed, a duke, a prince. And then this is just information on Bethlehem. Again, we see Nazareth brought up. Nazareth is mentioned as a beacon in Genesis when it discusses Nimrod building Babylon. Okay, so this is the second part of the prophecy when it talks about the remnant of Jacob. It says, and the remnant of Jacob shall be in the midst of many people, as a dew from the Lord, as the showers upon the grass, that tarrieth not for man, nor waiteth for the sons of men. And the remnant of Jacob shall be among the Gentiles in the midst of many people, as a lion among the beasts of the forest, as a young lion among the flocks of sheep, who if he go through, doth treadeth down, and teareth in pieces, and none can deliver. Thine hand shall be lifted up upon thine adversaries, and all thine enemies shall be cut off. And it shall come to pass in that day, saith the Lord, that I will cut off thy horses out of the midst of thee, and I will destroy thy chariots. And I will cut off the cities of thy land, and throw down all thy strongholds. And I will cut off witchcrafts out of thine hand, and thou shalt have no more soothsayers. Thy graven images also will I cut off, and thy standing images out of the midst of thee, and thou shalt no more worship the work of thine hands. And I will pluck up thy groves out of the midst of thee, so will I destroy thy cities, and I will execute vengeance and anger and fury upon the heathen, such as they have not heard. Okay, horses. This is what I found interesting, because they're digging that Suez Canal, and they have done it in a year, you guys. It took them like 40 years or something like that to do it the first time. Horses means crane.
Really?
Yes. And here's just pictures of cranes all over Israel and Jerusalem. Them building a bridge out in the middle of nowhere, Jerusalem, Israel somewhere. So, and grows. That's the proper name, feminine, for Asherah. The Phoenician goddess, also an image of the same, Asherah, Asherim, Ashtaroth. A symbol of this goddess, a sacred tree or pole set up near an altar. Remember that.
Yeah.
A sacred tree or pole set up near an altar, burnt by Gideon. Well, have a look at that.
Whoa.
Right there in Mecca.
That's cool.
And look, could that be by an altar? Right by the black stone that they bow down to every day on the Holy Mount? So standing images, I was surprised to find, means a pillar or stump, matsteba, and its definition, obelisks, pillar, pillars, or stump. So it is a noun that is feminine. It's a construct. So if it's a construct, it doesn't mean like a tree stump, right? A pillar as a monument, personal memorial. A stone that is set up and anointed as a memorial of divine appearance, especially of sacred stone or pillars in connection with altar erected by Moses. And then it says 12 pillars. It says conjecture also with Kings 12:10, but dubious, see Ben's. So all these links are here to check it out more. And then it says of obelisks of Heliopolis in Egypt, condemned for Israel by Deuteronomic code. So, and then it says, and you will no more worship the work of thine hand. So no more worship. You know, it says shakah, which I couldn't help but notice was so similar to Saka, which I don't know if you remember when Obama was running for presidency. He was saying he wanted to help Muslims be able to practice Saka.
Oh.
Which is, I guess, their form of tithing. Primitive root, meaning to bow down, which is what they do at the black stone there by the Asherah poles and altar. They bow themselves down, did homage, bow in homage, lie down prostrate, weighs it down, worshipped. So the work of thine hands, the work is masa.
And you know what might be prophetic? I just thought about this.
Hold on. Hold on to it, okay? I'm almost through this, and then, because it might be something I'm already about to go over. It's a deed or work of their hand. A deed or work, which is accomplishments, design, business, art, activity, occupation, vocation, what he has done, what is made, a product of olive tree, figuratively product of righteousness, a workmanship, a deed or thought, from a saw, an action good or bad, generally a transaction, abstractly activity by implication, a product, specifically a poem, or generally property, art, bake meat, business, labor, a thing made, thing offered, operation, possession, handy needle, workmanship. So the work of the hand, this was so deep. Addition, afford, against, allegiance, armpit, assuredly, authority, axles, banks, let's see, coast, command, compulsion, consecrate, concentrate, created, control, courage, creditor, custody, defiantly, delivered, encourage. I'm not reading all of them. There were so many. A guarantor.
Left-handed.
Yes, leadership, left-handed. Ordained, pledged. There was one here that was so, what he deserves. You know how many times people say, well, I deserve it. A signpost, possession, power, lose courage, jaws. Where is it? I don't want to miss it. Okay, I'm not going to. I'm going to drop down to Strong's Concordance. Be able, about, armholes, axletree, because of the side or border. Look at this right here. Let me find it. I hope it didn't break it up. Staves, ministry, even. Order, ordinance. Where is it? I could not believe it when I saw it, because there's no way this was an accident. Presumptuously, service, side, sore. Where did it go? I just may have to open it right here. Give me just 1 second. I thought this was so long ago. The Strong's Concordance was. Okay. Was this one, wasn't it? I know, like, this is taking too long for me to find this. I'm making a big deal out of it. I hope y'all think this is cool as I did. It might have been the other one. Give me just 1 second. Right here, look. You see that?
Networking?
Yep. Networking. The work of thine hand, networking. I thought that was crazy. The Strong's Concordance was written like in the 1600s, wasn't it? The 1800s at the latest.
Why do you think it's?
Because these go together. You see, look, because workmanship goes together. Working goes together. Network goes together. Do you see what I'm saying? Needle work goes together. So you can put those three together. Networking.
Okay.
So then I brought up the workmanship of their hands that was there on the Holy Mount. And just to wrap it up, there was a reference up at the top to Isaiah 7:10-16 that said, Moreover, the Lord spake again unto Ahaz, saying, Ask thee a sign of the Lord thy God. Ask it either in the depth or in the height above. But Ahaz said, I will not ask, neither will I tempt the Lord. And he said, Hear ye now, O house of David. Is it a small thing for you to weary men, but will ye weary my God also? Therefore the Lord himself shall give you a sign. Behold, a virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and shall call his name Emmanuel. Butter and honey shall he eat, that he may know to refuse the evil and choose the good. For before the child shall know to refuse the evil and choose the good, the land that thou abhorrest shall be forsaken of both her kings. So that ties into the first part of Micah where it talks about, Jesus will come and he will basically leave Israel and she will be, therefore he will give them up until the time that she which travaileth hath brought forth. Then the remnant of his brethren shall return unto the children of Israel, and he shall stand and feed in the strength of the Lord, in the majesty of the name of the Lord. So I found all of it to be very prophetic. And my theory is that the 7 shepherds, I have no idea who the 8 principal men will be, but if Wally Chobot is correct on the fact that all of the countries God mentions being destroyed are Muslim countries, and Rome, as we know it, is never mentioned as being destroyed, and America, if you look at history, has always been used to save Israel and the Middle East. So that tells me, when I look at it, that America will stand, and my theory is that the 7 shepherds, if I can find the notes, which I lost them. Okay, I'm going to try to do them off the top of my head, will be America, Russia, Germany, France, Italy, England, UK, and Spain. So, thoughts, comments, and what were you going to say about prophecy, George?
Well, it's probably nothing, but when you said you were talking about bowing down, and I remember when Obama did his apologetic tour and bowed down to the Saudi prince. I'm just wondering if there was anything prophetic about that. But those 7, I watched the longer video, the almost 2-hour one. Except at the very end, it had a glitch in it, and it wouldn't complete like the last, I don't know, 5 or 10 minutes. America has also been called, or been thought of as one of the young lions of Tarshish. I don't know. I'm when you were reading through all of that, just the way, in the same way that Waleed said you can go back and look at all of the characters of Revelation if you go back to Genesis. And I don't know, I'm just going to have to put together like a PowerPoint, like an organization chart.
Oh, I had a PowerPoint last week, George. I did. That's
no, it's just, it's like,
yeah.
Just twist the knife just a little bit more.
Just twist that knife in just a little bit more.
I mean, it's very short, but I had a PowerPoint.
So, George, what did we learn from this?
Part of what I was saying, to expound on it a little bit, was not just was Genesis a reflection of Revelation, but it was kind of like going backwards through Genesis was seeing Revelation, if that makes sense. Because when Jesus said in the days of Noah, he also brought up Lot and his wife. And Noah was alive for 500 years after the flood. So are we just to look at before the flood and Noah? Because a lot of people get zeroed in on those fallen angels and forget about the rest of it. So I really got to looking at in the days of Noah and the establishing of the territories through his sons, and it's opening now. I just clicked to open it. We'll give it a second, but that was how I went, oh my goodness, and I really started making parallels and thought, wow, if you go backwards in Genesis, it's like Revelation forward. And then I found out Perry Stone was saying the same thing, except he kind of took it a little far and was like making comparisons with Twin Towers, which I wasn't trying to make, but he has a lot of good things to say too. But here's my PowerPoint. Let me present to everyone again. Entire screen. Share. I hadn't made a PowerPoint since like the 8th grade, but this is what I came up with. So how do I play this thing? Slideshow from beginning.
They didn't have PowerPoint till I was like 30.
In order to understand the present, we must look to our past. The key to realizing the future lies where the end first began.
In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth was without form and void, and
darkness was upon the face of the deep. In 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that is in them. And God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. From the San Diego, California headquarters of the Institute for Creation Research, here are ICR scientists and Back to Genesis lecturers, Dr. John D. Morris and Ken Ham.
I'm convinced that Noah's flood is really the bottom line issue in resolving this creation-evolution controversy.
Dr. Morris recognized the importance of the flood too, and he wrote the classic book, The Genesis Flood, some 30 years ago, back in 1960. Actually, this is the book that really started the modern creationist movement. In this book, he pointed out the implications of the flood and answered many of the questions people have concerning the biblical record of that event.
That's right. You know, if you were to ask an evolutionist, where's the evidence for evolution? Where's the evidence that the Earth is millions or billions of years old? The answer will invariably be in the rocks and fossils. But if Noah's flood really happened, it would have laid down the rocks and fossils, and then the rocks and fossils would be evidence for Noah's flood and not evidence for evolution or an old Earth.
It's sad that many Christians try to incorporate evolution into their worldview and reject the idea of a global flood. In this program, Dr. Morris is going to give us both the scientific and scriptural evidences for the global flood and the catastrophic nature of the geological record. Let's watch.
At this time, we're going to be speaking on the theme of the Genesis flood. I'm sure you're very familiar with the biblical story of the flood, but maybe you didn't know, or maybe you did know, that this is one of the events in the Bible which is under the greatest attack by those who don't believe the Bible. The flood is considered to be tradition or myth, anything but fact, and particularly in the world of geology, the science which deals with the history of the world, they say there was no such thing as a worldwide flood such as the Bible describes. But we maintain, of course, that the biblical story of the flood is absolutely true and that all of the real facts of science support it. I want to begin by reading a chapter, not a chapter, but a couple of verses of Scripture in the last chapter that the Apostle Peter wrote before he died. And he was looking forward to the last days. I believe we're in the last days. If not, we're certainly closer to them than anyone's ever been before. And this, therefore, would have more relevance to us than to anybody before us. And here's what he says, in the last days there shall come scoffers walking after their own lusts and saying, where is the promise of his coming? For since the fathers fell asleep, all things continue as they were from the beginning of the creation. That is, people will be saying, we don't believe in the great promises of God's purpose for the world. He's coming someday to accomplish all of his purposes, to restore all the good things that he had in the beginning. We don't believe that because since the fathers fell asleep, that is, they died, all things continue as they were from the beginning of the creation. The reason why people are able to reject the promises of God for the future is because they don't believe the record of what took place in the past. They say all things continue as they were, not just from the end of the creation, but from the beginning of the creation, so therefore we can explain everything in the world today, everything that is existing today, everything that has existed, in terms of natural processes which we study in science that have been going on just as they are now since the very beginning of time, the very beginning of the creation. And this is nothing but the philosophy of evolution, which says that we can explain all things in terms of processes that continue today. So this is a prediction 2,000 years ago of the dominance of the belief in evolution in the last days. That's, of course, being fulfilled today. But then the Apostle Peter goes on to say, for this they willingly are ignorant of. They ought to know better. The evidence is all against them. They willingly ignore the evidence. First, that the heavens were of old, and the earth standing out of the water and in the water by the word of God. That is, God created the heavens and the earth by his own word. And then secondly, the world that then was, literally the whole cosmos that then was, the heavens and the earth that existed then, being overflown or literally cataclysmically overwhelmed with water, perished. So the first cosmos, the heavens and the earth, which were in the beginning, that God created in the beginning, those were destroyed in the great flood. And so he says if we recognize the tremendous evidence for creation and the flood, that we'll be able to have a full answer to the philosophy of evolution, which will dominate the world in the last days. I remember when I was just a young Christian, I began to study the Bible, and I was beginning to try to find answers to evolution, which I believed at that time as a college student. And I found that that this record of the Apostle Peter concerning the importance of the story of the flood in the last days as the real answer to evolution was the key to the understanding of Earth history. So I began to study geology. In fact, I went off to graduate school then to get my major in hydraulics, the study of water, and geology as my minor, the study of the earth, because I could see that the story of the flood was the real key to the understanding of earth history. The book, The Genesis Flood, which was co-authored by John Whitcomb of Grace Seminary and myself back in 1961, the Lord used graciously to provide the sort of catalyst to develop the modern creationist movement, because other people also could then begin to see the tremendous importance of the Great Flood. So even though many people today reject the story of the flood and they consider it simply a fable or a tradition, the fact is that it provides the real answer to the study of earth history. So that's what I'd like to discuss today. Now, because the world of scholarship and science, for the most part, rejects the idea of the flood, many Christians have become intimidated by this and have tried to compromise on this issue. They've said, well, the story of the flood has to be reinterpreted. For example, they say that either the flood was just a local flood, it was not a worldwide flood, or if it did cover the world, it just rose up so quietly and went down so softly that it left no record. But neither of those theories will hold at all. The story of the Bible is very plain in teaching a worldwide cataclysmic destructive deluge in the days of Noah. As far as the idea of a local flood is concerned, I don't know how any Christian who believes the Bible could read a local flood into the story of the Scriptures. All you have to do is read the 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th chapters of Genesis, and you'll see that it's clearly talking about a worldwide, world-destroying flood. For example, it says that the waters went up for 5 months and covered all the mountains. Every high hill into the whole heaven, every mountain was covered with water. And then it says they began to go down, and finally at the end of the 150 days, the 5-month period, the ark rested on the mountains of Ararat, where there have been many reports that people have come back with from time to time that they have seen the remains of the ark still on Mount Ararat. At any rate, it rested on Mount Ararat probably because it's the highest mountain in the whole region. And it then says after it rested on the 150th day, that then it was another 2.5 months before they could even see the tops of the other mountains. So evidently it was on the highest mountain, and then it was a whole year before they could come out of the ark. And Mount Ararat today is 17,000 feet high. Now, a local flood, you simply cannot have a 17,000 foot high year-long local flood. Hydraulically, that simply is impossible. It wouldn't be. And then, of course, there are other reasons. The story says that God promised he would never send this flood again to Noah. And if it was only a local flood, he didn't keep his promise, because there have been devastating local floods all over the world all the time since. And so it wasn't a local flood. In fact, in one of my books, the Genesis Record, the commentary on Genesis, there's an appendix giving 100 reasons, both biblical and geological reasons, why the flood was worldwide. So we have to recognize that the Bible is talking about a worldwide flood, and as far as the idea of a tranquil, non-destructive worldwide flood is concerned, a tranquil flood, that's even more impossible. You know from your own experience, maybe you've been in floods, at least you've read about them, you know that even small local floods today can do tremendous amount of damage and can do a great amount of erosion and great amount of geological deposition. And to say that a worldwide flood wouldn't leave any record is simply absurd. A worldwide tranquil flood is about like a worldwide tranquil explosion. Simply impossible. You can't have any such thing. So we have to recognize that the Bible does teach plainly that there was a worldwide, world-destroying flood in the days of Noah. People have said, for example, that the ark that Noah built couldn't possibly hold 2 of every species of animal. And they build up big stories about how there are millions upon millions of different species of animals. And the Bible says that Noah took 2 of every kind of animal into the ark, and so it's impossible. And even the popular children's books that you have, they show a little boat with a few animals going into it, and they think it's just a sort of a children's story that couldn't possibly be really true. But the fact is that the ark was a tremendous structure. The dimensions are given in the Bible in terms of cubits. Now, nobody knows exactly what a cubit was. Most people think it was probably about 18 inches. But the smallest number that I've ever seen quoted for the cubit was 17.5 inches. And if you assume that that's what it was, which is the smallest that anybody's ever suggested, then the dimensions turn out to be still very large, as you see on the picture, still very substantial.
The book of Genesis is more than a history of man. It's the first chapter in the history of the redemption of man. Additionally, some key elements of Genesis setting it apart from other books of the Bible are it covers more time and miles than all the other books combined. It gives a foundation for all great doctrines of the Bible. It shows how God overcomes man's failures under different conditions, and is especially crucial to understanding Revelation, as the first and last chapters of the Bible are intimately related. Genesis chapter 1 through 11, there are 4 key events: the creation, the fall, the flood, and establishing of the nations. And chapters 12 through 50 cover the lives of 4 great people: Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Joseph, the ancestors of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And there was my extensive PowerPoint, George.
I've got that book, the Genesis Record. Matter of fact, it's sitting right over here.
What book?
The Genesis Record that he talked about.
Did he write it?
Yeah, that Henry Morris.
Okay, see, I have the one his son wrote. I need the second one, because I guess you can't see the title. By the way, you know we're doing something good when in the middle of our broadcast we have a troll in the comment section typing Jesus is a pedophile.
Oh, really?
What?
Yeah, that's I got a notification that we had a comment. And yeah, so we're getting on up there if we've got people commenting while we're live.
Yeah.
But this is by his son, this one here, and I was using it when I was putting that one together. It was different, George. I did most of the talking. We got right to it, no pleasantries really, and I talked for probably a solid 2 hours. And I was real upset because this is book 1, and everything I needed was in this part of the book. This really tiny part. So apparently I need part 2.
You should see it, George. We kind of have a small library going. I want to say we bought home how many? But almost 40 books in a 2-day span from a couple antique stores and bookstores, and we have a book. We need to go to Bookaholics Anonymous. I'm serious.
It's our weakness.
Oh, the one thing we did find that was kind of interesting is the Catholic Bible.
Mm.
No.
Let me grab it for you real quick, 'cause I'm right here. Hold on.
Have I sent you that while he's getting that PDF file of Earth's earliest ages?
I don't think so.
Okay.
And it's actually called the Light of the World Edition.
Okay. You know,
one of the very first.
Who's that? Which pope is that?
Pope Paul VI.
I tell you what I think I'm going to do. I'm going to start trying to make, like I say, kind of an org chart, and pass it on to you, and then you can make kind of the prophetic connections I don't know, maybe we can eventually come up with something that gives a good picture, literally a picture of the tie-in with the prophecy and the feast of the Lord. How it all ties in. I don't know. I know I need to start studying, having a much more methodical rather than just hit and miss, because what I've been doing lately is just, I'll just get on YouTube and find something that looks interesting. And it's all good, but I don't know, I just got to get a focus, because are y'all as confused as I am about
Well, let me tell you, George, the past few days, the past few days leading up to me, I guess what you've said, developing my voracious appetite for history, I was starting to think, how much end-time prophecy is Bible and how much is doctrine of man? And everything that I presented last week and this week, even though some of it was inspired by the Wally Chubot, I wouldn't have come across Wally Chubot if I hadn't been following the lead of the Holy Spirit. Last week, right up until 5 minutes before Bible study, I was putting this together. And I will tell you, Tim pulled up from work. This changed itself. I had pasted the verse from Ecclesiastes right here into my notes on my phone with the number and the full verse, okay? Then I had started to type a prayer that whatever I presented would not be tainted by my thoughts, that it would come across pure. I wouldn't let it be, confused with my own understanding of things. And as I was reading everything to Tim, my phone automatically, it did like this. It went whoop, like that, and then the cursor was blinking like that. I didn't think anything of it. I just scrolled back down to where I was reading and kept reading, right? Well, then I scrolled back up to the verse, and it changed to this. Ecclesiastes will begin again. What has been done will be done again. There is nothing new under the sun.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that was right after I had typed all of these connections. It says, God's covenant with Abraham, fulfilled by the new covenant in Christ, heirs according to the promise, and the seed of Abraham. Then I made a note of stuff I wanted to look into, the length of time between God's covenant with Abraham and the flood versus Christ in the modern day end times revelation. Then I put Tower of Babel, fall of tower, dividing tongues, splitting of nations, Peleg, Pangea, Pentecost, gospel preached to all nations, reformation of the Holy Roman Church versus reformation of the church to unite the Pentecostal and Roman churches of the world, rebuilding of Babylon, because we know that Saddam Hussein started doing that, return to Israel, making of brick, because in Genesis, go to, let us make brick, building of towers, man trying to be God, uniting in language and religion. So we have Genesis in reverse there again. Joseph is betrayed by his brothers. The number is 12. Egypt, 7-year famine versus the 7-year tribulation. 7 weeks in Daniel, 7-day creation, 7,000 years, etc. Vision of Nebuchadnezzar. Wally Chubat went over that in depth. Christ, the church, and the nation fulfills the dream of the statue and of the nation. The root remains, though the tree has been cut down. Joseph thrown in prison. We will be cast into prison. Joseph judged his brothers who betrayed him. We shall judge the angels. Lot is visited by two angels, a warning about the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, because it says when they tell us about the end of time, the signs, he says, remember Lot. Do not remember his wife. Lot saved by the warning. Lot's wife does not listen and perishes. There will be two. One is saved and one is left. Christ mentions Lot and his wife. Two witnesses, two angels. The remnant. We talked about the remnant today in that prophecy. The sons of Noah to the covenant of Abraham lived close to 1,000 years. From the day of Noah entered the ark to the death of Shem. Millennial reign is 1,000 years. Establishing of the nations. Remnant will reign with Christ in a new established kingdom for 1,000 years. After the destruction comes swiftly as in the days of Noah. So I was typing that. I'd already pasted this verse and was typing this when Tim pulled up. And then I started reading these to him when that verse changed itself to Ecclesiastes will be again. What has been done will be done again. There is nothing new under the sun. And I'll be glad to send this to you if you want, George.
Yeah, please.
Oh, George, before I forget, you need to message me a link to your site.
Which site? The
bullies.
Oh,
you had posted the.
Man, I hadn't. Nobody ever got interested in it. I'll send you the link. Hey, Kay, what were you gonna say? What were you gonna say before you checked out last?
Before I interrupted you.
It was about the Hebrew Roots movement. That's pretty much been exploding recently. What do you guys think of that? And yeah, that was all I was gonna say. I don't remember what else I was gonna say. So. I know that's off subject right now, but yeah.
Well,
fine. As in the days of Noah, we're going backwards. People were saved by Christ, and now they all want to reshackle themselves to the law of Moses.
Right, yeah. Because even here in D.C., those guys preach downtown, and they're like, they call themselves Black Israelites or whatever, and they wear these priestly robes and stuff, and you know, they get a lot of attention because they have like a bullhorn, and it's kind of odd to see, you know, men in those types of robes, you know, purple and red, and you know, the different colors that the tribe of, you know, Levite wore, and I'm just like, no, I can't get on board with all of that. I understand some of it in the terms of there are, you know, there were black tribes or, you know, whatever, but to say we're the Jews, I don't know. That's not, I don't get on board with that. That's not. Okay. Or the original Jews, you know, were African American. I don't know. I don't know about that.
Two things there. As far as their being part of the lost tribes, that that is true. I was just watching on the Smithsonian the other night where they had found a tribe down in South Africa that they literally confirmed their DNA. They took DNA swabs, and it was a direct, exact DNA match to the Cohen, which the Cohens, that Jewish name, is part of the priestly Levite tribe, and they had exact DNA. But so that's one thing. But the Hebraic roots.
But they're not from the seed of Abraham. They're
Right.
from the Ham.
Okay. See, that's where the confusion, I think, is with that.
Because that's what I was trying to say to George about the confusion of the true Jew and the seed, is because everybody comes from Noah. You know, and that's wrong too, because they are from the seed of Abraham. Well, are they? Hold up.
Ishmael, okay. Right?
Right. Here's the deal.
Ishmael.
Him, Shem, and Japheth, who had 3 wives. Okay? Abraham may have had 2 sons who had 2 wives. But both of their wives, okay, if we got to skip over, I did something, I did research on this, on Ishmael and Esau. Both of their wives, Ishmael and Esau, took wives from the same family.
Oh.
So
okay.
They come from the same line. Both. Do you see what I'm saying?
Okay. Because Rebeckah. Okay. Yeah. Rebeckah was a cousin, right? She was Isaac's second cousin, or.
Well, Ishmael came from Zipporah or something like that. Starts with Hagar, maybe.
Yeah,
no.
Hagar.
And Esau came from. They were twins. So yeah, Rebeckah was the mother.
Esau was the next generation.
Right. But Esau and Ishmael had wives from the same family. They were both daughters of. I have it.
But that's.
What I'm trying to say is that the African dark skin, melanin, whatever. I'm not trying to be racist. This is what I've been researching. I haven't got it all together to put forth.
The pigmentation,
yes.
The tone. Yeah.
From Ham.
Okay. That's kind of funny, but yeah. I'm thinking about something else.
And possibly Japheth. I have to look into it, but
okay.
I don't know.
Okay, that's where I'm. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So Edom. So it all has to do with Edom and Elam, and they were, what I was reading was saying that the old Ethiopia was actually Cush, where we know Cush today. And the real Arabs that we don't see on TV because they're not in the cities. They're the indigenous Arabs that are more in the wilderness. You know what I'm saying? They have more ethnic. They look more African.
Right. Okay.
And I have all written down too. I just that's where I was trying to like figure out was like, does ISIS and Muslims all come from Ham, Ishmael, and Esau, and which countries did they settle, and are countries that I trying to reclaim? And that's how I got on that whole path, and of which races and all of that. But anybody, so there can, I guess, be black Jews, but
okay, I'm not, when I say Hebraic roots, I'm not talking about the genealogy. I'm talking about the seasons, the moons, the calendar year, and how the feast of the Lord, the feast of the tabernacles, the feast of the trumpets, all of those feasts, which actually feast is a bad translation. What it literally means in Hebrew is appointed time, like a convocation. And what those
that's why you shouldn't have checked out early, because I went over the exact Hebrew meaning of the word feast.
Okay.
And the Greek meaning.
Okay. Look, I'll just...
Well, let me ask you, George, when you say Hebrew roots, are you referring to the HRM?
I've never heard of that.
Well, it means...
Yeah, that's what I'm...
Hebrew roots movement. It's
HR. Okay.
Basically calling Christians to observe the Jewish law and the Jewish feast and the Shabbat and all of that. Is that what you're referring?
Yeah, but when you say Jewish law, when you talk the Torah, it's not. Again, we have been lied to so much since Constantine, and because he disbanded the Sanhedrin, and right about 300, right? So, but oh man, I'm losing my train of thought.
All right.
So, what was your question again? What I'm the Hebraic roots, like I said, it's studying all of those feasts and the appointed times, and like the Feast of the Trumpets. That's when they're saying that the rapture will happen. They're not saying, they're not appointing a specific date. They're just saying that is the date, that is the time of the year that it will happen. And the more that I've started studying it, the more that I appreciate what Jesus did. And it will touch you to your core. You will look at everything from nature. You will look at everything completely differently, and it will clear up so many mysteries or things that are confused in your head. And that's why what I was wanting to do was kind of tie in make some charts between between us, so that we can tie all of this stuff in, so that it makes sense either way. That's all I'm saying. And it's about time for my witching hour.
Before you leave, George.
Oh no, you're gonna leave us? I've missed so much of your insights into everything.
I'll send you some of these links. I'll send these links to Becca, and she can pass them on to everybody.
Now, everybody I've met who's been in the Hebrew Roots movement, yes, it is about observing the feasts and learning about the feasts, but they will also tell you that if you claim that you are saved by grace and you are not observing the feast, that you are a Pharisee. And they will also tell you that the Pharisees did not abide by the law of Moses, which is a lie. The Pharisees had so much esteem for the law of Moses that they accused Jesus of breaking the law of Moses for healing on the Sabbath day. Hebrews 9:6. Now when these things were thus ordained, the priest went always into the first tabernacle, accomplishing the service of God. But into the second went the high priest alone every year, not without blood, which he offered for himself and for the errors of the people. Now what Christ did on the cross was he gave us the ability to enter boldly before the throne. He ripped the veil. The Holy Ghost, this signifying that the way into the holiest of all was not yet made manifest, while as the first tabernacle was yet standing, which was a figure for the time then present, in which were offered both gifts and sacrifices that could not make him that did the service perfect as pertaining to the conscience, which stood only in meats and drinks and diverse washings and carnal ordinances imposed on them until the time of Reformation. But Christ, being come in high priest of good things to come, by a greater and more perfect tabernacle, not made with hands, that is to say, not of this building, neither by the blood of goats and calves, but by his own blood, he entered in once into the holy place, having obtained eternal redemption for us. For if the blood of bulls and goats, and the ashes of a heifer sprinkling the unclean, sanctifieth to the purifying of the flesh, conscious from dead works to serveth, how much more shall the blood of Christ, who through the eternal Spirit offered himself without spot to God, purge your conscience from dead works to serve the living God. And for this cause, he is the mediator of the New Testament, the New Covenant, that by means of death, for the redemption of the transgression that were under the first testament, they which are called might receive the promise of eternal inheritance. For where a testament is, there must also of necessity be the death of the testator. For a testament is of force after men are dead, otherwise it is of no strength at all while the testator liveth. Whereupon neither the first testament was dedicated without blood. So, when Moses had spoken every precept to all the people according to the law, he took the blood of calves and goats with water and scarlet wool and hyssop, and sprinkled both the book and all the people, saying, This is the blood of the testament which God hath enjoined to you. Moreover, he sprinkled with blood both the tabernacle and all the vessels of the ministry. And almost all things are by the law purged with blood, and without shedding of blood is no remission. It was therefore necessary that the patterns of things in the heavens should be purified with these, but the heavenly things themselves with the better sacrifice than these. For Christ is not entered into the holy place made with hands, which are the figures of true, but into heaven itself, now to appear in the presence of God for us. Nor yet he should offer himself often, as the high priest entered into the holy place every year with blood of others. For then must he often have suffered since the foundation of the world. But now once in the end of the world hath he appeared to put away sin by the sacrifice of himself. As it is appointed unto men once to die, but after this the judgment. So Christ was once offered to bear the sins of many, and unto them that look for him shall he appear the second time without sin unto salvation. And it says, and this is a lot quicker, in Colossians 2:19. Right here. Let no man beguile you of your reward in a voluntary humility and worshiping of angels, intruding into those things which he hath not seen, vainly puffed up by his fleshly mind, and not holding the head, which is Christ, from which all the body and joints and bands, having nourishment ministered and knit together, increaseth with the increase of God. Wherefore, if ye be dead with Christ from the rudiments of the world, why, as though living in the world, are ye subject to ordinances? Touch not, taste not, handle not, which are all to perish with the using, after the commandments and doctrines of men, which things have indeed a show of wisdom and will worship and humility and neglecting of the body, not in any honor to the satisfying of the flesh.
Okay. Let me back up. I remember what I was trying to say. The Torah is not, when we call it the book of the law, that's also a bad translation. It's really just book of instruction. And the Pharisees they completely rewrote, or they added to, just like Jesus said.
They had an oral tradition.
Well, like Jesus said, that, or that God told Moses, do not add not one jot or tittle to these laws, to what Moses tells you. And what the Pharisees did was an exact violation of what God had told them. So I'm not saying that we're supposed to go back to what the Pharisees were teaching. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that what the Hebraic roots and studying these feasts go back to the way God told us, or told them to, like, you'll just have to watch I'm going to send you these. All right, whatever.
I'm sorry, I've already looked through Roots Movement, and I mean, it says plainly in the book of Acts, when Jesus' apostles, the disciples that walked with Christ, one of the Pharisees that was a believer said they should follow the law of Moses. This is in Acts 15. They should follow the laws of Moses. And they had a big council called because of this. It's earlier than, I posted this in the chat, it's earlier than Acts 15. But it sums it up right here. Wherefore my sentence is this, that we trouble not them which from among the Gentiles are turned to God, but that we write unto them that they abstain from pollution of idols, from fornication, things strangled, and from blood. And that was it. They had a big council meeting over that because the Jews that believed were like, Paul had come and said, okay, well, we want to give salvation to the Gentiles. I've been preaching to the Gentiles. And the Pharisees that believed said, well, they should follow the law of Moses. And stood up and said, brothers, hear me. This is all in Acts 15.
And again, that's not what I'm talking about.
I understand following the ordinance of God because you feel moved to do so. What I don't like about HR or the Hebrew Roots movement is the judgmental overtones.
That's not what I'm talking about. That's not the part of it that's what I'm
talking about.
I'm sorry?
That's what Corinne's talking about when she asked, how do you feel about the Hebrew Roots movement, the HRM. That's what she's talking about.
Okay.
Right.
Well, that's not at all what I'm talking about.
Oh, okay.
It's like when people hear you say Hebrew Roots, George, they're going to automatically think that you mean that movement, that these people are going around saying, you got to go by the Torah, and if you don't, you can have Jesus, but if you don't go by the Torah, then you're a Pharisee, and you're not really saved, and you're of the devil. That's what these people in the Hebrew Roots movement say to people.
And they change their names to Hebrew names, just like Islam changed their name to Arabic names. They do that as well.
Okay, all right. Let me. Here's an example. If you go, every Hebrew word, just like Yeshua, every Hebrew word has a meaning.
Yes.
Well, if you go to Jerusalem, if you go to Israel and you stop somebody on the street that's originally from Israel and you ask them, do you know Hebrew? And well, yeah. Well, what does the word Jesus mean to you?
Nothing.
Nothing. So that's how we've been lied to. And that's not the same as changing your name. I'm not saying you gotta change your name. What I'm saying is what Yahweh gave us originally is not what that's not what Jesus. I mean, Jesus was a Hebrew. Jesus said he came back to fulfill fulfill the law.
Right.
So
and he did.
That's all I'm saying. But I'm just now breaking into all and learning all of this stuff. So I'm having a hard time articulating some of it, but believe me, I'm trying to say this. I'm trying to tell you this for everybody's well-being, because it sure touched me to the core. It shook my world right out of my cage and put everything that I had ever been taught into a 10 times better perspective. But I don't know. I'll put a post out on my page and just I'll do that tomorrow. But I gotta hit the sack.
Before you leave, George, we gotta play you out. Hold on.
And before you play him out, I don't realize where you're coming from, because when I realized that the letter J didn't exist prior to 500 years ago, and that Jesus' name was Yehoshua. That changed my perspective too. But there is a maliciousness behind the HRM, the Hebrew Roots Movement. Now, if you want to take the knowledge and go with it on your own, that's great. If you want to look into that, good. But be careful what the propaganda videos that go out.
Okay, here's what just like we've got bad prophets, false prophets on the Christianity side. There's bad prophets on that part as well.
Right, I understand that, Georgia. I'm just saying everybody I've come into contact with that claims to be affiliated with that has been a very mean-spirited. The Bible says you'll know them by their...
yeah, I know. I've seen them, and
well,
you know,
these three that I've been listening to are as pure as the wind-driven snow. But I've just learned a whole lot more from them. And so I'll just put it out there. What, Tim, what were you going to tell me?
I was going to say we're going to play you out since you're going to bed, so.
Okay.
What's the matter with the clothes I'm wearing? Can't you tell that your tie's too wide? Maybe I should buy some old tab collars. Welcome back to the age of jive. Wearing to the hot outfit, honey. Scratch until you spend a lot of money. Everybody's talking about the new sound funny, but it's still rock and roll to be. What's the matter with your car?
Oh, he left before he got his applause. I didn't even do that. What is going on?
You know what's so funny? Look at the face that Billy Joel's making.
That was George Lee.
Look at the face that Billy Joel's making at the point I paused that.
Yeah, it does kind of look like George.
I know, right?
Right.
I don't know. I just got into it the other day, actually, with somebody in the Hebrews root movement, and I was just posting scripture to this person. Let me actually. This is actually what I said. I said, it's not my intention to start an argument here, but as someone who has been called a Pharisee by a TO, Torah only, and now seeing this, Stephen's remark, which is the man, he said, for he called the Pharisees, parentheses, those who rejected the law of Moses, snakes, children of the devil. I fear some have been woefully deceived. I feel the need to point out this statement is incorrect because Pharisees held Moses' law and the oral traditions in such high esteem they became legalists and had no love in their hearts, to the point of condemning a man for loving others and working miracles on the Shabbat. And it says, Matthew 23:1, then spake Jesus to the multitude and to his disciples, saying, the scribes and the Pharisees sit in Moses' seat. All therefore whatsoever they bid you observe, that observe and do, but do not eat after their works, for they say and do not. They bind heavy burdens, grievous to be borne, and lay them on men's shoulders, but they themselves will not move them with one of their fingers. Then I posted from the Acts 15, the beginning part where it says, but there rose up certain of the sect of the Pharisees which believed, saying that it was needful to circumcise them and to command them to keep the law of Moses. And the apostles and elders came together for to consider this matter. And when there had been much disputing, Peter rose up and said to them, men and brethren, ye know how that a good while ago God made choice among us that the Gentiles by my mouth should hear the word of the gospel and believe. And God, which knoweth the hearts, bear them witness, giving them the Holy Ghost, even as he did unto us, and put no difference between us and them, purifying their hearts by faith. Now therefore, why tempt ye God to put a yoke upon the neck of the disciples, which neither our fathers nor we were able to bear? But we believe that through the grace of the Lord Jesus Christ, we shall be saved, even as they. And then it goes on to say, wherefore my sentence is, we trouble not them which from among the Gentiles are turned to God, but that we write unto them that they abstain from pollution of idols, fornication, things strangled, and from blood. Then it goes on to say, for Moses of old time hath in every city them that preach him, being read in the synagogues every Sabbath day. And then I put in John 8:15, ye judge after the flesh, I judge no man. It is written in your law that the testimony of two men is true. I am one that bear witness of myself, and the Father that sent me beareth witness of me. Then said they unto him, where is thy Father? Jesus answered, ye neither know me nor my Father. If ye had known me, ye should have known my Father also. These words spake Jesus in the treasury as he taught in the temple, and no man laid hands on him, for his hour was not yet come. They understood not that he spake to them of the Father. Then said Jesus unto them, when ye have lifted up the Son of Man, then shall ye know that I am he, and that I do nothing of myself, but as the Father hath taught me these things. So this guy told me that I was of the seed of the devil after posting that, and that I didn't do any Bible study, that I was just regurgitating what I heard my pastor speak from the pulpit. My husband will tell anybody that's exactly the opposite of what I do. In fact, I think sometimes he gets a little jealous of the time I put into my studies versus the time I give to him.
You know, I am sitting right here still.
I know. That's the point. So my reply to him, because he said, if they knew Moses' law so well, they would have known Jesus was the Messiah, and they would not have killed him. And I thought, really? Because it says, John 12:36, while ye have light, believe in the light, that ye may be the children of the light. These things spake Jesus, and departed, and did not hide him, and did hide himself from them. But though he had done so many miracles before him, yet they believed not on him. But the saying of Isaiah, the prophet, might be fulfilled, which he spake. Lord, who hath believed our report, and whom hath the arm of the Lord been revealed? Therefore they could not believe, because Isaiah said again, he hath blinded their eyes and hardened their heart, that they should not see with their eyes, nor understand with their heart, and be converted, and I should heal them. These things said Isaiah when he saw his glory, and spake of him. Nevertheless, among the chief rulers also many believed on him, but because of the Pharisees they did not confess him, lest they should be put out of the synagogue. So Jesus said unto them, if you were blind, you should have no sin, but now I say, see, therefore your sin remaineth. And I know, Karen, you've had some experiences as well with this, and Lisa's had some, and I remember first I encountered some of these people. I was hearing people say, I was in a Christian group, and I didn't even know about Torah only and HRM, and I kept seeing this phrase TO, and I'm like, what does that even mean?
Right. They preach here typically on a busy day, like, okay, it's Friday night, so maybe around 7 o'clock, they would have been out there. And Chinatown is our busiest, like one of our busy areas, because that's where, that's where this movie theater is, and the restaurants and everything like that. So I know that's one of our spots to hang out. So a lot of people would be there. So they would be out there with their bullhorns, and they'll stand on the platform, whatever, and loudly preach and read from the Torah or whatever, and in their garb, with the robes on and everything, the hat, the whole thing. They look like they're in a biblical play, pretty much, and they have a lot of negative things to say. A lot of negative things to say about, white people and this and that. And I mean, it's very, it kind of defeats everything. As black people, we wanted equality, and here you are telling them they're evil. I mean, how is that God-fearing to say that based on someone's race? They must be evil, or they must be, they even go as far as the seed of Cain, or they throw a lot of stuff in there that's like, okay, you're taking it too far. So yeah, they're very negative. On one hand, they want to uplift the community, the black community, but then they're being negative and racist, and it's like, I can't co-sign on that. So even if there's truth to it, even if there's truth to like what George was saying about the heritage aspect, they're defeating their purpose of unity by spewing, these very racist remarks. I mean, cursing. I mean, I've heard them cursing, and you calling names and things like very. I don't want anything to do with that. It's kind of militant, very militant, kind of like the Black Panthers, almost, in their attitude of hostility and aggressiveness that they preach. This false, false gospel, false message. So I that's why I asked about if you guys knew anything about that, because I see it often here. So you have them, and then we have the Muslims who hand out their flyers and things of that nature, and they're Islamic newspapers and stuff in the suits, the ones that subscribe more to the Farrakhan Muslim ideal. They look to him as their leader, more so like Malcolm X, that kind of. Those are the modern Muslims here I see, but they're the other ones who do wear the garb and everything, and I see some women in burqas, because there's a mosque by my house, right at the corner, like near my home. It's a small family-owned mosque, so not too many people go there, but I see some young men in the community becoming Muslim.
Let me ask
but
you,
not,
now that you say that, let me ask you. I read this in a comment. Someone asked if they thought ISIS, how they're recruiting, if they were targeting African American, the U.S. African American community, especially since the whole Ferguson.
Okay. I heard some things about that too. I haven't looked into it, but I heard some things about it. There's a lot going on with that, you know. A lot of that stuff I found out is very staged. I'm not going to get into that right now, but I found some information about that that's very disturbing. And just how the media uses that to stir, you know, the racial issues and stuff like that, and it's very upsetting. But I don't know about the ISIS thing, but I heard some things about that, but I didn't follow up on it. I pretty much not heard, but I researched that it was a setup,
Right.
pretty much,
Like
and
using their blinkers.
that actually Mike Brown's dad is a Freemason.
Like
And
I know that
so,
I saw as far as setup was like driving away from liquor store raids. They were driving speed limit using blinkers, turn signals, and that Tim and I saw on 2 different news stations. They had a peaceful protest that was just marching, and then they had a thing go down by the police station where they used images of the peaceful protest that was marching to link it to whatever happened over by the police station on 2 different newscasts. You see what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, it was. I was even seeing reports that a lot of those people weren't even from that area that were rioting. They didn't even live there. Like the store owners didn't even know most of those people. So it's like, okay, what's really going on here? And when I found out the information about Mike Brown's dad and actually Trayvon Martin's dad, and that they're Freemasons. And so the pictures of them actually together with the full lodge gear on everything. It's like they're pulling the wool over our eyes pretty much with this. And we know, you know, they have to create these chaotic, you know, civil unrest situations that is going to stir the public to react a certain way. And there's nothing better to do that than to use race to bait the situation, you know. And then you have people like Al Sharpton and them who pretty much make it worse. You know, with they seem like they're protesting for the rights of the victims, but they're really just trying to push their own agenda. So you really, on both sides, you really can't.
Did you see that when I posted it?
Oh yeah, I kind of like skimmed through. Wow.
So the top one is the black stone at Mecca, and the bottom one is a cornerstone here in the U.S.
Whoa.
You know, the cornerstone is the Masonic cornerstone, and the top one is the black stone of Mecca. And that was one of the things that Wally Chubat was mentioning, was that people forget Islam is just a Christian cult. Because they believe in Jesus, but he's a prophet.
Right, like the Jehovah's Witnesses, you know. They think he's just God's son, you know, he's created to redeem, but he's not God to them. He's not deity to them. They don't pray to him. They pray to Jehovah, and they don't see the oneness or they don't believe in the Trinity at all. They don't even believe in the Holy Spirit. As the third person of the Trinity, they believe the Holy Spirit is God's force, like the force will be with you, pretty much. So, yeah. That's what confuses me about Islam, because I hear them say, "Oh, he's a good man," or he's a good prophet, and that sort of thing, and they even believe in him coming back to
As
defeat
Muhammad's servant.
the Antichrist, right?
No, as Muhammad's servant.
Okay. See that? No. No. He's no one's servant. Yeah.
Do y'all believe with everything that's going on with ISIS and things like that there could be something called an ethical purification going on right now?
Oh.
And the only reason why I asked that is because I looked it up and I Googled it. And apparently this is happening again. And I'm trying to find out why and where.
You mean like the Turkey's been doing for years?
That and ISIS, and even here in the United States, it looks like we're digressing back to the race wars all over again.
Oh yeah. Okay. I see that.
And it just seems to me that this world is trying to go through a racial purification period, an ethnic purification period. Because you see,
just in case anyone's curious,
the Babylonian map.
Yeah, from the 606 BC.
Mm-hmm.
How it goes up into Turkey and over into Egypt.
Yeah.
Now this is what I found. And it says, ethnic cleansing has been defined as the attempt to get rid of, through deportation, displacement, or even mass killing, members of an unwanted ethnic group in order to establish an ethnical homogeneous geographic area. Through cleansing campaigns for ethnic or religious reasons have existed throughout history, the rise of extreme nationalist movements during the 20th century led to unprecedented level of ethnically motivated brutality. That's the only reason why I asked that question.
You know, I think that is going on. I mean, it seems like every time I turn on the news, I'm not trying to say, something I don't want to say, but it seems like here's another black man, being murdered in some way, or some, violent crime against him, and some young man being killed, and it's like, and I say that it seems like, I know this it doesn't seem like it fits, but also the gay rights thing ties into this too, because I see a lot of black women becoming lesbians in my area, and a lot of the men are out of the homes, a lot of the families are already broken up, and then they're going into that lesbian lifestyle where they don't need a man, and now you got the young black men being strategically killed. So it's like taking the male is the blood, the head of the bloodline. He's the one who has the seed, so let's go after them. I don't see a lot of black women being killed the way I see a lot of black men being murdered on a regular basis. I mean, like I said, my own uncle was murdered by another black man. It's not just, oh, it's a racial thing. We're killing each other, and the racist people, cops or whatever, are killing us as well, and it's like a self-hatred to violently destroy each other, and being destroyed from without and being destroyed from within.
Mm-hmm.
And now, you know, like I said, it's gotten to the point where black women don't even want to be with a black man. They'll rather go to another woman than even be with their own kind. Now, it's like, I don't even need you anymore. And the family unit what held the black community together back in the day was the male lead, the male leader in the home, you know, in the community fighting for us to be one. And now that's been destroyed. And on the other spectrum, you have these preachers that are looked at as heroes who are robbing us in the community, and they're the only male presence is the preachers. I
was watching somebody who was he's one of my favorite guys, Shimalam or whatever. He's a black evangelist, I guess. He says he won't preach in a church, and he goes, and you sending your women to these pimp preachers. And he's like, you better hear me. I love him. I love him.
He's great.
He is like so stern, but like he is biblical, and he'll change it to the Hebrew name, but he's not like HRM either. He's like, I believe this word, but he'll talk about the pimp preachers.
Yeah, that's what they are, and the women are either they're going to other women or they're looking to these shyster, scam artist preachers to, be the leaders in the community or the politicians, So any presence we have is the strong presence is fading away of the male role model in the community. It's fading away. And because of that, our young men don't have fathers. My father wasn't in my life, so I already know about that. My husband's father didn't want to be in his life. And so a generation being raised without strong fathers in the home, and they're pretty much lost. You're either into the crime or you're into, like I said, the lesbian thing or the gay thing. A lot of young men are also going into that lifestyle. So you don't have strong families being created. You just have broken homes and broken families.
And that's why more and more these people need to have Jesus and God brought into their lives to give them that father figure they need.
Well, and, I think a lot of it's propaganda too, because there's been so much stuff, especially when I lived over in the ghetto, and I lived in Dallas, across from the Phoenix place, which was, you didn't get more ghetto, because I can't tell you how many times, just because I was the only white girl on the block, that they would stop when they were missing persons, because I would talk to them. They'd say, have you seen this person? How many times I was asked if I'd seen someone who was missing, and we would, hear gunshots, see multiple cars, government cars pull up in a place. Something went down, and it was never on the news.
No.
Someone's pulling the strings of what's on the news and what's not. Like my cousin who was murdered. He lived in Dallas, white man, brutally murdered. Wasn't on the news.
Wow.
They came up to his house.
Oh, yeah. You told me that. You said that. That's terrible.
So I think a lot of it is controlled, and it is to, for an influence of, the population for, whatever reason. We can only guess.
Yeah.
You got to kind of wonder if they're actually going to start implementing over here in America what they have over in China, where you can only have one child just to help control the population.
Did you guys see what happened in New York? The bill they passed to inject the babies with poison in the heart?
What?
They passed a bill in New York to, I guess when they do the abortion procedure, to inject the baby's heart with a poison. It was all over Facebook. And even my friend had sent me a link. Yeah, so
that's disgusting.
It's like, the families. So I mean, the family unions are all over the place. I mean, not just racially, but in America, period, already crumbled, and now just the thought of even having a baby's lives don't mean anything. They're just spare parts to get rid of.
People buy them. There's a market for dead baby fetuses.
Right. I don't know if you guys saw the link I sent, the video I saw that I sent on the posted in the group. It was very sick.
I actually just
they actually cooked fetuses in soup in China, like baby soup. Like, if I didn't see that with my own eyes, guys, I wouldn't have believed it. I mean, I didn't think it went that far. I knew the abortion thing was terrible, but I didn't think, okay, hey, you get a skin graft because you are a burn victim. Oh, those are baby skin cells being grafted on to you, or you get an eye cornea transplant, and that could have been someone's baby eyes, like, and no one and people, no one talks about it, and then then you have the people who want to defend it, and I'm like, how do you not define a baby as a human being? What is it? Are you giving birth to a cat? I mean, what are you pregnant with? I mean, it's like,
the fact that they're doing this after the heart's been formed in the child. This is going toward late-term abortion, and that means that child's got a heartbeat. That child has formed arms, legs, eyes. It can hear.
And he's also got he legalized what is that called? Where it's where it's not even called an abortion. Induced fetal, I don't remember what the name of it is. There was a nurse who spoke out against it to Congress, where they can't even do an abortion. They make the baby be born early, and they didn't even have a way to handle it. So these babies were winding up in the contaminated, soiled laundry room, sometimes alive for entire shifts. Alive, crying.
Are you talking about partial term abortion? Partial?
Induced fetal demise.
Oh.
No. It's
okay.
It's induced infanticide.
Oh.
Wow.
That's sick. I heard that they will let them starve to death. So they'll just, they'll let them cry and starve, and they just leave them in the room, and they'll, go about their shift like, no, whatever,
And you gotta wonder what kind of heart these people have who are supposed to be there to take care of a person, and just sit there and listen to this little infant cry, knowing that it needs help and they're just sitting there ignoring it. You got to kind of wonder how black these people's hearts are.
Well, the Bible says because of iniquity, or because iniquity shall abound, in those days many hearts will wax cold.
Very cold.
That's what. Now I feel even more and more strongly against going to doctors anymore.
Yeah.
You know, I know, Rebecca, you don't like going to them. I hate going to them. I've hate going to them for years. But now I just have more reason not to hate going.
Can I tell you guys something weird that happened to me at the doctor's? I went to the doctor and I had some samples taken, and I was called and told they were stolen. Someone stole the lab van with all the, medical samples from all the patients, and I had to get my samples retaken of blood and, blood and urine. And I didn't hear it on the news. There was no reports, and when a van is stolen, a medical van, with blood samples and everything else,
with all your personal information.
It was not reported. I didn't hear it on the news. Everyone I talked to, my grandmother, my friends, they didn't hear anything about it, and I was just like, what in the world happened? I mean, it's like it happened and it just went away, and you got to take some more samples, and that was it. I never heard anything about it. Not one report. I looked online. I didn't hear anything. So I don't even know.
Well, guess what happened to me? My mail doesn't come here. It goes to my mom's. And she said, you have something from text.gov.
DPS.
No, it was text.gov, which is the Department of Transportation. And she was convinced it was a ticket, and I was too. Why else would they be, contacting me? Well, I get it, and I feel something hard, and I open it up, and I don't have my purse in here. It's another license. And I'm like, okay, and I read it, and it says, because of wrong information, we have sent you a new license. So I pull out my old license, and I go to check in my information. All the information is exactly the same, except for the DD number, which is related to the Department of Homeland Security. And Tim noticed on the back, the barcode is slightly different. And the hologram that's over my photo, in the old one, it covered my left eye. Like it's like a round hologram. It went like this. And in the new one, it's not on my left eye. And I was like, well, why would they change my Department of Homeland Security associated number? For what reason? Come to find out, like, this like really obscure news company says that because of a misprint on the back on the letter I in physician directive, like I wish I had my license in here to show you the back of it. There's like check boxes. Like one says organ donor, one says physician directive. Well, apparently there's a misprint on the letter I. They didn't mention anything about the holograms, anything about the Department of Homeland Security, the DD number, anything like that. And in fact, when they ran the story on this obscure news network, they didn't say anything at all about the reason why they did it. But apparently, like over like this obscene number of licenses were misprinted, so they were covering the cost of sending out all these new IDs. Well, that was in October that I renewed my license, and on 2/20 they reissued it for wrong info. I just thought it was weird.
Yeah, that is weird. I mean, to just reissue and then it's not even the same without notifying you first. I mean, it's strange. And me and my mom, we were joking like, so they gonna, we talking about clones. Like, what if they use my DNA to clone someone? Like, to clone me? It was a joke, but at the same time, I'm just like, I am getting more and more. I'm more and more believing in them, using our DNA for something. Because even when she went to the doctor, it was like, oh, let's take 5 vials. Let's take, by the time, well, you have to come back for another. Like, she had 7 vials taken within, like, 2 visits? And I'm just like, how many times are you going to, how much do you need? Everything checks out as far as her health. They know what's going on or whatever. So why do you need this many vials for these couple of tests? Like, it makes no sense to me. It's just they will try to issue this test and that test, and they'll make up a reason why they need to do this test or why they want to do some kind of survey thing. Or it's like you're just a guinea pig, You go in and they find some reason they need you to do this, they need you to do that. Even when they tell you what's going on, they'll find some other thing you need done, some other X-ray or something. It's like, makes me feel uncomfortable. Actually, I was supposed to go back for an X-ray for something, and I haven't even done that yet because I'm just like, I don't like it. I don't like it at all. But yep.
I just got a message from Michelle back onto the doctor's thing. She didn't want to text message you, honey, because you were talking and she didn't want to interrupt you. But she was saying she didn't like doctors either because on 2 different occasions she was almost murdered in a hospital. And she's going to explain the whole story later on, but she wanted me to pass that on. She wanted to chime in because she's listening, but she wanted me to pass that on.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It is. Let me tell you, like, I swear that once they graduate from medical school, they forget how to read. Because it never fails that I will go to a hospital and they ask me what I'm allergic to, and I tell them, and every single time they try to give it to me.
I'm witness to that. I am witness to that.
Wow.
But it's also the fact that depending on where you go, like remember when we went to Denton Regional and they had that whole Ebola drill during the middle of the emergency room. They shut the entire hospital down.
I was there with elevated blood pressure and chest pains.
Yep, and they shut the entire hospital down for a drill. But yet,
can you imagine what that did to my blood pressure?
And considering the fact that we went to Denton Regional, they found nothing wrong. They said she had nothing wrong with her. Yet she goes to
They said I had a sinus infection.
Yeah, a sinus infection. Yet she goes to a Presbyterian hospital. Mind you, Presbyterian, yes, a religious style of hospital, they automatically are able to find out what is wrong with her. Now, mind you, this is just man saying this, but she's able to get a diagnosis
That makes
of
total
something
sense.
that she has been battling since, what, October, since a little after we got married?
Yeah.
And the doctor she goes to now is a total quack job. She keeps telling this doctor, hey, this is what I was diagnosed with at this hospital. She showed him the papers. Yet he refuses to send her to see the specialist that she needs to see. When she went in complaining about her hips and stuff, and her neck and stuff, he ordered MRIs on her hips only, not her neck.
No, vice versa. My neck.
Oh, it was.
He was going to have my back when I first did after he said he wasn't going to do my hips. But here's the deal. I've already been told that my neck curves the opposite direction than what people's does naturally, because your neck naturally curves. It has a name. I don't remember. And so the MRI place, he was going to be reading the results, and I went, oh, good Lord. Because everybody in town, and it's a small town, has said that he's this terrible doctor. And I'm like, well, I'm going to speak against that, and I'm going to say he's going to prove them all wrong by giving me excellent medical care.
Right.
Well, I get a call from his nurse saying that everything from my neck MRI looks 100% normal. And I'm thinking, well, unless my neck grew the opposite direction, miraculously.
Right.
I didn't know about that. You should at least be telling me about that so that I can tell you, oh, wait, that's pre-existing.
You know, there's also times that she's gone in for blood work since she's been married, and her blood work, the doctor would tell her blood work is fine, yet she'll go back and read it. Every single time she'll go back and read it and find out that certain levels of her blood work are elevated, and yet this doctor is not telling her this information.
I always have high, and it's marked that it's in the high.
Mm-hmm.
That it's my red, it's a CBC blood count. And my red blood cells, my white blood cells, and my leukocytes are always really high. Like, there was one time I went in and my count had, like, tripled on my leukocytes. And I asked him about it once, and he was like, oh, well, are you a smoker? And I'm like, I've been smoking cigarettes since I was 11. So you tell me why my blood work's only become this way.
Right.
All of a sudden.
Right.
I mean, that's just like a really, I mean.
It's like they want to, they don't want to be thorough in their treatment. They want to, it's always like they find some reason for you to come back, you know, like.
Well, right.
Money.
I told him that that I'd come across some blood work that I completely forgot about where I had tested ANA positive. And I was supposed to follow up on it, but back then, you know, I never followed up on anything. But this pain has been so bad that I'm like, well, if this is related to this pain, since he won't run the bone scan, because what I was diagnosed with, I was told that it'll either go away with bed rest on its own, but if it's the infectious kind, it can spread to other joints. And if that's the case, I'll need an intravenous antibiotic followed up with pills to take care of it.
They give her steroids.
Yeah, and he gave me steroids instead. And when he called back and said he wasn't going to scan the hips, I'm like, well, my hips are still killing me. And he's like, well, give the steroids more time to work. Mind you, this is 2 months later. So,
which, by the way, did you ever call them today?
They were close today. Anyway, that's personal information that shouldn't be discussed on.
That's what I'm asking. Should we still be broadcasting live right now?
Probably not. Anyway, I'm going to wrap up what I'm saying about my personal health. It doesn't matter. But so he says they're not going to check it, and just give the steroids more time to work. But back in October, he says they're going to check on the ANA and make sure that's not contributing to it in any way. And I said, okay, so when are we going to do that? Instead of looking into it then, he says, oh, probably in February. Do you know he's had me on 10,000 IU of vitamin D since September, which you're not supposed to do more than 3 months without rechecking blood.
Wow. That's crazy.
And he has neither my ANA or rechecked my vitamin D levels. And here we are toward the end of March.
Almost April, yeah.
Yeah. Wow, that's crazy.
But he did have me in to do my regular CBC, which I got a report back that it was all normal, but yet my red blood cell, white blood cell, and leukocytes were still all high.
It just amazes me. These doctors go through medical school, like you said, for 8 years, sometimes 8 years, if not longer.
Right.
And as soon as they graduate, they just don't give a darn about the people they take care of. So it seems like most of them don't.
Yeah.
You know, and it amazes me how these doctors can just push people, you know, just act like they care and just push you off to the side.
Oh, yeah. The way they talk to you.
It's like they demean you and like they degrade you. And for the longest time, you know, I went to this one particular doctor and for my knees and my back and stuff like that, and then I finally just stopped going because he kept telling me the same thing over and over and over, and I was like, you know what, no, I can't do it. I'm done. You know, and it's also not just regular doctors. You know, you look at psychiatrists and all these other doctors that wanna just keep telling you the same thing over and over and over, just to get you to come back. And
right.
you gotta kind of wonder what would happen is if people would wise up and realize this.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and looks like Rebecca's on her phone. Hi, honey.
Okay, don't be so loud. I'm not outside yet.
Oh,
do me
I'm
a favor, and
What's
everybody,
up,
thank
sir?
you for joining us. My sister says it's bedtime, so will you go to my computer and hit the stop broadcast?
Yeah, no problem. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back.
And hello, man. Hello. He can't hear.
I'm still here. I'm still here, right here.
My computer.
Yes, I can do that.
Okay. That way.
I'll be right back.
All right. That way.
Ow.
So thank you everybody for joining.
Adios, everybody.
Bye.
God bless you all. God bless you all.